Hi knitters, welcome to PJ Knits. My name's Penny and I live in Central Illinois, and I am a knitter, a blogger, a YouTube podcaster, and an Instagram. Happy New Year! Thank you everyone for coming back each time, and also for any new subscribers out there. I hope that during my little journal of knitting here on YouTube that you get some inspiration. That's what I'm trying to do all about. As I said, I live in Central Illinois, and today is Monday, January 13th. The sun is shining, and I have to say, when the sunshine comes out, doesn't life just, it's so much better. Not that it's not bad when it's cloudy, but you know, when the sun comes out, don't you just feel so much? You feel so good, even with probably 5-ish inches of snow outside right now. We've had the last 5 days, we've had snow every day, and every day I went out and used my handy dandy snow shovel that my son Roger and Aaron gave to me, and it does just what I need it to do for a small amount of snow. So I've been shoveling snow every morning. It's been kind of 30-ish, so it's still around. Today it's going to be around 28-ish, I want to say, but tomorrow it's going to be cold. So this is totally sweater weather. I am loving bringing out all of my knits and sweaters, wearing them all the time, all winter long. This is what I live for, or what a knitter lives for, right? So I have some stuff that I want to talk to you about, but I'm going to save it at the end. It's kind of like a life update, a goals update, just a thoughts in general. But I don't want to bore you all with all of that stuff if you don't want to be here. What I will say is I bought myself a Christmas present, and it's a new iPad, so the camera is straight on now, which is great, and we will see how this first podcast goes in the new year with the new iPad. So let's get into some knitting, right? I want to first of all say that the Hansel Hap year-long knit-along for last year closed up at the end of December, and we had some great haps out there, some that were finished, some that were in progress. Mine's still in progress, as you know, that's just the way I am. But the thread is now closed, and we've kind of closed the chapter on that knit along. But one of the things that we do have is I pulled a bag winner from the Hansel Hap thread for 2024. And if you want to go back and look at those beautiful haps, please do. But the winner is post number 33, which is G Cookie, and she has a full Hansel Hap that is in the undyed colors, right? And well, not really, but beige is the natural tones of, let's say, sheep for sure. And so go out there and check that out. But what I did is I chose a bag winner from that thread. And so G Cookie, if you would get a hold of me, it can be via Ravelry, which I am PJ Knits 1. Our Ravelry thread is PJ Knits. Or you can send me an email at pjknitspodcast@gmail.com, or Instagram, I'm PJ Knits. But if you would send me your full name and your address, in the next couple of weeks, weather permitting, I will get your bag out to you. And so here it is. I'm going to just show it to you real quick of what you will be receiving in the mail. This is another one of our lovely Sandy bags. Sandy is a friend and such a dear friend, and a dear fabric maker, bag maker for our several podcasts. And so Sandy, we, shout out and thank you so very much for each time you do this. But here is the bag with the vinyl bottom on it. And I love mine. I use it a lot when I'm going to knitting, with a lovely orange and a nice pocket inside. So G Cookie, if you'll send me your info, I will get this bag out to you in the next couple of weeks. So congratulations. Thank you everybody who joined in during the knit along. And as normal, pardon me, it's just the state of things. What can I say? And I'm not going to go into that any further. So let's do finished objects. I'm going to save some other stuff for the end. I have 2 whips, and I am so pleased and I guess proud to say that these are from my 2024 whips, and they are in my 2024 journal. And so I wanted to share those with you. And first up is, this is Musselburgh, what I call Musselburgh number 2. And the reason it is number 2 is because this is one that I cast on and I had as a passenger in my car for that just in case, or just in case knitting, right? And so I finally decided that, you know, in the last few months, that I really wanted to get this one off the needles, that I can't keep calling this number 2. And I wanted to move on, right? And get a new one sitting in the car, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But this is Musselburgh number 2. The yarn I got from my friend Kendra. She gave it to me, rather, it was going to the put and take table at the mini meetup in 2022, and I snatched it out of her hands before it could make that way. But anyway, this is from Arkansas Yarn Company, a new to me yarn, new to me base. It is called Glow Me Up Girl, and I believe it should glow in black light. So we'll have to test that out sometime with a black light. First, I have to get one. Those days are over with for me. But look at this lovely Musselburgh. I love the way this turned out. I did the adult medium from the pattern on a size 4 needle, and I keep in both my car knitting and the knitting that I have here by my chair. I bought a designated size 4 16-inch needle for each of those hats, because I always, most likely will always have 2 on hand, one in the car and one next to me for just picking up when I just want a bit of stockinette. But I love how this all turned out. A little bit of self-striping, and I just love it. As I said, if I was to be perfectly honest with you, I started this back in May, and it was a frequent visitor to the front porch as well when I decided to. And I did the pinhole cast on, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, but I just love it. I'm going to pop it on my head. It's going to, I think, go to one of my granddaughters, my youngest granddaughter, if she wants it. And if not, little kids aren't so much hat people unless you make them put them on and head out in the snow, right? So anyway, we'll see. But if not, it's going to go into that bin that I've got for next year, for when I go to Thanksgiving or Christmas things, and just kind of let everybody choose a Musselburgh. That's really my intention, is to have a stack of them for next year, and I'm making my way. So anyway, I just think this is super, super cool. I'm loving everything about that. And if you've been on a Zoom or otherwise with me, you know that I'm a fan of this. This is just the perfect take and go knitting. And I love the way it fits me as well. And I still have possibles for me, because I just love the way this turned out. So this is the Musselburgh out of Arkansas Yarn Co. And thank you so much, Kendra, for this. I'm loving it. So second up in my finished objects is from the Woolens and Nosh 2024 Advent. This was the first time that I had ever used that particular Advent. Pardon me. And I did just my kind of vanilla sock. As I had said before in other podcasts, I'm kind of tweaking how I like my sock, right? And so this is a Targhee base. I had never used it before. Kendra said she really likes this. And it is plumpier. I did it on a 1.5 needle on 64 stitches, and then decided to go down to a 60, to decrease to a 60 right before the heel flap and gusset. And what I've decided, I think, in the next time I do it, I think I'd like to maybe start out, maybe still with the 64, because I have a little bit chunkier calf to accommodate that, but maybe I would go down to a 58. I will keep you posted down the road as to how I like that, this new base for me, this new to me yarn. and also how I am liking the 64 to 60 and continuing the 60 through here. And did the rounded toe. It's a modified version of what Noelle and Kelly do. So finished both of my socks just recently, let's just say like the 10th. But I started these, I was gung-ho when they first started Advent, and then if you watched previous episodes, you know, I was kind of like, I have to stop doing this because it was becoming more like a job. So anyway, this is it. I will keep you posted on how I like the wearing of it, and here is how it all came out for sure. So loving everything about this sock. I'm loving most of all that it's done. So next up, let's talk, and I keep pulling this up because we'll talk about this in a minute, but we'll just talk about the sweater later. So anyway, moving on to whips. First of all, I'm just going to share a thought process. I have pig parts in here. And what I decided about a week ago was that every morning with my first cup of coffee, much like during the Advent, I would turn on something relaxing, a YouTube video on the TV, something really relaxing, like a fireplace, right? And so for 30 minutes every morning when I get up with my first cup of coffee, I would work on the youngest granddaughter's pig. And so I am on my last arm. I've been doing 30 minutes every morning except for today because I stayed up way, way too early and wanted to get the podcast out, or at least videoed while there was some great light. So I have pig parts on here, the last arm that I have to do, and then I have to do the tail, and then it all has to be sewn together, stuffed, and everything else. So this the knitting is almost done with my pig parts, and I'm pretty happy about that. And I'm going to continue doing the 30 minutes a day, even when it comes to the sewing up and stuffing, because I just think if I make that goal for myself, right, then I will get it done, and I will get it out of my whip pile. And it's been on the needle since May, June of 2023. So anyway, it's time for that to go, and maybe by May 25, it'll be done, right? So anyway, so that is my first whip. My second whip is part of the Unite Cal that we are doing via the Zoom. We cast on New Year's Day, and we have some Vertices Unite is what we're knitting on, and Textures Unite. And then we have others who are just going rogue and joining us for other Stephen West patterns and just whatever they want to. So we had a great group, a great get together on New Year's Day, and it was so fun to start out the New Year's with that. That said, I am just going to say this. Section 1 went on a long time. I'm doing on a size 4 needle. I am also using some yarn from my stash, also known as PYS. Let's see. And I am using, I bought this at Stitches Midwest many years ago because I liked the colors that were on the display at Yarn Culture. That's the booth that I bought it. And I am using Rosy Green Wool Cheeky Merino Joy in 5 colors on a size 4 needle. And I'm knitting on the size, the large size. So this is the first section. I just completed it this morning with the colors, and so I'm ready to pick up. I'm loving this. This is actually a dark navy, what they're calling deep ocean, and then the B is a taupe. I am loving the way this is. I'm loving this yarn. I'm loving knitting with this yarn, and I am pleasantly surprised. It's a new to me yarn, and so I'm pleasantly surprised at how much I love it. So I am ready to start section B. I have changed up my colors because originally section B was going to be 2 colors and it was going to be wood um, and Air. It was going to be this one and a kind of brownish wood color. And I decided this morning that my pop wasn't pop enough. And so I decided to go with these two, which is the Air and Peony. So I'm switching up my colors to go next. And it's going to be like a stripe. Well, let's do it this way. A stripey type thing here. Oops. So those are going to be my next two colors. I have to do some picking up, and so I'm anxious to put those two together. I have been working on this one quite a bit at home because I wanted to get it to this point. I'm ready to see something new. And as others who have knit this before have told us in the Zoom, was that this first section was the longest, felt like the longest section, and I would agree. Now that I've done that and I'm picking up, I'm anxious to see what the colors are going to look like and how they're going to play, but I am also going to kind of set it aside for a bit because I have I have some sweaters that I want to knit on. And so I think I'm going to take one of our Zoom friends on Saturday night, I'm going to take her suggestion, and I think I'm going to go back and maybe just knit on it during Zoom meetings, like the Tuesday night Dude Knits Zoom, and then our Saturday PJ Knits Zoom. I think that's where I'm going to be doing that, because I think it's a great Zoom knit that can be done while I'm facilitating or I'm part of a Zoom. So I think that's what I'm going to do after I get that picked up and get a few rows right. So that is one of my whips. I was going to show you flax, but I decided not to. Partly because I haven't done anything with it. It's really kind of the knit for the Fiber Universe shop, but that's one of the sweaters that I want to get done. I want to be wearing right now. If you haven't done so, please grab a cup of something and you're knitting and kick back for a while. I've got a few things to talk about, right? So next up, I want to talk about what do I want to talk about next? Let's talk about the great cleanup. I think let's move into that. That's the crux of this particular podcast today. I believe in the end, I'm going to call the title of this Teal the Cowls Come Home, because this is really going to be the teal episode. And what I want to talk to you about is, remember, if you were with me last time, about I had this thought that I wanted to kind of, when I went to put my Christmas stuff away, I wanted to put it away in another closet space that was easier to get to than to overhead, which is kind of like a walk-in attic type thing. I didn't want to have to keep going into the darkness, right, every year to bring it out, put it in. So I decided to clean out my closet in the Zoom room and put all my Christmas trees in there, standing up, so I didn't have to put them together, some decor that is on that level, and, you know, the stairway type things that easy to get to. So I started that right after the New Year's, and I pulled everything out and put all my Christmas in, and then the great cleanup was to start going through my yarn, right, and being really kind of brutal with it. Is, if I don't love it, if it's been around for a long time, if the joy that it brought me in buying it, because as I've said a lot of times here, the joy in sometime is the collecting of the yarn for me. For me, I see a pattern, I buy the yarn, I see in my brain that I've knit it, I've wore it, I've passed it on. And so sometimes when you go through your PYS, your personal yarn shop, or your Penny's yarn shop, as I call it, you find things that it's like, you know what, it's time for you to go. It's time to be donated, or or not, just gotten rid of. And I am okay sometimes with just getting rid of some things that may have been around for a long, long time, you know, and it's like it's been wound or it's been knit into some things. And so what I did is um, what I did is I got 4 bags so far, and I brought them downstairs one at a time, and I put 3 of them into my trunk to go to donation. And I brought the 4th one down, and I looked at it, and I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to keep this bag because it was Dale Garn from a pre first grandchild, but I never knit it up. And it has some good yarns in it for other things that that I'll talk about at another time. So 4 bags came down, 1 bag went up. So anyway, in the course of this, I started pulling yarns in the teal colorways, and I found some great finds. And as I was doing that, I thought it'd be great for an episode. Teal the Cowls come home, and maybe put this on my list for 2025 to reduce this bag of teal yarns. And so as I was going through, if I loved them, then I put them on the bed, and then I started researching patterns. And so for this purpose of this particular podcast, I want to share those teal yarns with you. And I also want to show you some patterns, some of my things that I'm kind of sort of thinking about. So, first of all, last fall, so you can see I kind of had a thought process in this whole episode. Last fall, I got in the mail a catalog, which is one of the catalogs that I still get, is from Talbot's. And lo and behold, I mean, it spoke to me, right? Do you think I need that purse? I can't wear the shoes, I can tell you that, but look at this. Gave me food for thought on ensembles to wear with my teals for future reference. So I'm putting this into I'm going to put this into my journal, cut some of these things out and put them into my journal now that I've podcasted about it. And so it kind of gives me ideas for how to style things. And I particularly like that, again, blue jeans, which on my normal day, I am a blue jean gal. So I'm going to add these things to my journal for possibilities, for just a thought process of inspiration for me. So let's get started with what I found, my finds. First up, I found some Malabrigo Arroyo in Reflecting Pool, which this is one of my favorites. Our local yarn shop, the Fiber Universe, has Rios, and a friend of ours is doing the Reflecting Pool in a sweater, flax, which is going to be gorgeous. I believe it is. Somebody else also got that, the Reflecting Pool as well. But this is a sport weight. I have somewhere between 1,400 and 1,600 yards of it. I have a couple that were wound up back in the day. So I'm fairly certain they're the same thing, but I'm going to start with the unwound skeins first when I start knitting on the sweater. But here it is, Reflecting Pool, a teal tonal, and this is a sport weight. And what I have chosen, I believe, no surprise, from, again, the 52 Weeks of Easy Knits, one of my total, what can I say, one of my total favorites for sure. Okay. Yes, I had this marked. We'll go back to the original, but anyway, you all know that how much I love this book and how I almost want to knit everything out of it. And I'm trying really hard, again, to use my library, meaning my personal library, and also PYS. Now this particular one, I know that I will lengthen it because it is way too short for me. And on this neck, if you can see, it's a little wide for my thoughts. I like a little bit closer neck. And so I will more than likely, I could wear a turtleneck underneath it, but more than likely I will, when I come over to say the shoulder, I will sew it up or cast on last stitches. I have to investigate it. So here is the sweater. It's got a little pocket on it, and I'll show you better the detail here. It is called Brizna. And by the way, in a couple of days, if you look below, all these links will be in the show notes below. And here this one, she has lengthened it a little bit. So you can see how it is off the shoulder, becoming more off the shoulder, which is not something that I want to wear. So anyway, here we go. I like that detail there on the sleeve and also there. And I could also, and more than likely, I will leave the pockets off because I don't need extra pockets on there. So that is Brizna. This is by Elena Solier Jansa, out of 52 Weeks of Easy Knits. Elena Publishing, which, you know, I've said this before. It's a favorite. I mean, I want to knit a lot of things out of it for sure. So anyway, so that's chosen for the Malabrigo Arroyo. And then next up, these next two things are PYS from Stitches Midwest a long time ago, even before, way before COVID. And both of them had intended to be a certain sweater that I had seen at the Webb's booth. And I had picked one out and then decided, and bought it, and then decided that I'd go back because I wanted the original colorways. And so then they dyed it for me. And when I got it, they didn't match up. They didn't marry up well enough for what I wanted. So this is old PYS. This is Prism Merino Mia Layers by Prism Yarns. And this is a sport weight. I have over 1,400 yards in this. As I said, it's a sport weight. The color is indigo, and the thing that's interesting about this is that it has some blues and a little touch of gray. It will be perfect with blue jeans for sure. It is 100% merino wool, and it's scrumptious. It feels good. And so in my library, I went and I'd chosen a couple of other yarns way back when, but I believe that this particular one is going to be Friday Anew by Anekstrick. It has a detail much like the Weekender does, that Andrea Mowry does, but it uses an interesting method of putting it together, and so I'm anxious to do one of hers as well. It has a phony seam, which you cannot really see well in that front picture. And I don't know if there we go. Down the side, I don't know if it's a front, it may not be a phony seam, it may be a pearl stitch, because it also is down the side, right? And it also is on the sleeve as well. So I am marrying up this particular one with this pattern because I want to do one of Anekstrick's patterns, and a friend of mine has done this as well, and maybe both of them, Susan and Sally Rainey, I think they both have done that. And so I want to, and I bought the pattern as one does, right? And so I'm using out of my library for that. The next one up was also in this same time period of Stitches Midwest. And this is the Prism Merino Gradient Pack. This is the pack that I bought, and then I bought that other yarn to go with it. And when I got this dyed, it was too off. So this is a sport weight. I have 1,500 yards of this, and I am thinking about options. I have 3 options possibles on it. Here you go. It's a sport weight, going from the darkest to the lightest. And so I have chosen a few patterns for this possibilities. And if I had to think about it, in the order of what I've shown you here is probably the order of how I would like to knit them. But you know, that is knitter's choice, subject to change. And so the first one, I have knit 2 of these already. It is Ground Pepper by Suvi Samola. And I would maybe think about using this for another ground pepper, but I don't want to do the V-neck. I would need to make some modifications with that. I know that I would now go down another size in that because the other ones are getting a little big on me, but still comfy, cozy, right to wear. But I would want a crew neck, and I love the fit of both of the ones that I wear. I love the way they feel on. So it's highly likely that I might do this same one and do a different neck, just do a few modifications. So that is one possibility. The other one that I've had since the beginning of time is another Andrea Mowry. It is So Faded. And this one I'm not, I think this is at the bottom of the possibilities right now, because I don't know that I necessarily, I'm not sure. I'm just sure. So this is a possibility. I don't like the tightness of the arms in this pattern, right? And I would have to, I know that I'd have to mod that one for sure. And I could make the I will make long sleeves for sure, not the short. So this is probably at number 3 on that list. And one that I am really thinking very heavily about, because I like the neck, and I like, I would lengthen this one, and I love using betas from Hedgehog Fibers, her patterns. I've done a couple of those, and I'm thinking seriously about Le Pouf, which kind of gives me a new pattern to do, kind of like the ground pepper, but different, right? So it's Le Pouf. This is a free pattern, so from Hedgehog Fibers, and so this one is the one that I'm kind of sort of thinking about very heavily for this particular yarn, for sure. So that is the next teal. And then next up, if you all remember, I did a turtle dove cardigan a couple of years back, and I love it. I love it. Totally love it. I did it out of Cantata, but when I bought this yarn a few years back over in Indianapolis, it was reasonable, and I got it for $5 a skein, so I bought sufficient. Well, now I have enough to do something more with, and I have been kicking around as possibles to knit another sweater, maybe knit a pullover with it, but I've already got my cardigan out of that, so I was on the fence. This was one of those that you set aside, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I know there's a sweater that out of the 52 weeks that I could do, but I wasn't sold on it. Still not. I shouldn't say that. I am sold now on what I'm doing out of this, because thanks to Kim on last week's Zoom, she brought to mention that Around the Table Yarns showed back in December on one of their Instagram lives, showed that they were knitting a Sophie scarf, Sophie shawl, right, out of a heavier weight yarn on a bigger needle. And I had this aha moment at that point in time. I've knit Sophie's scarf several times. One of the things that I'm trying hard to do is not to just go off and buy another pattern every time, something pops up. And so I know that there's the shawl out there, but after that conversation, I was like, you know what? I don't know why I just can't take Sophie's scarf, cast on my Cantata with a larger needle, and go larger and using the same pattern, right? And just making it until it's as wide as I want or till I use half my yarn. So that's exactly what I'm doing. I cast on for the Sophie scarf, and I am knitting a Sophie scarf, only it's going to be out of my Cantata. And the thing that I like about this is in this brain that was going around on Tuesday night, I think, I'm fairly certain I will have enough to do a large wraparound scarf, perfect for those, 19, 20 degree, less than 30 degree cold temps we're going to have this week. This would be a perfect thing to wear around all of my black coats, any coat really, wrap it around and get nice and snuggly. And I do believe that when I get done, I'm going to have enough to make mittens and possibly a hat to go with it. So that is my thought process when it came to my leftover Cantata, because I want to use this yarn up. So thanks, Kim. I think it's a great idea. So that is one of those. And then next up is some yarn that I bought last year. When I saw it online from Sweet Skein of mine, I talked about this. I showed it in Mail Call some time ago. And I've never used her yarn before. So this was on the top of my PYS for sure. The colorway is chilled, and so I bought sufficient of this. And then I went to my local yarn shop and I pulled out some yarns. I pulled out a couple of different colorways of Cumulus, and that one was a Cumulus, one was a mohair, and then another Cumulus. And they were like I did a Cumulus, I did a mohair, and then I did a Cumulus again, and I swatched it and swatched the two together. And so what happened was when I got done with my swatch, I didn't want this particular one, the yarn, it just really just faded away. I mean, you didn't see anything. And then this one kind of blended as well. And what I liked was that this one did not. It still gives you the semblance of the yarn that we've got here, but it fades it and you don't lose the yarn in it. So I am going with this. It's kind of like a sagey green. And so that's what I am going with. The decision was made to pair these two together. And so this particular little process, I have two thoughts in mind from it. And first of all, I keep coming back to Lento. And so it's one of the possibilities. And I would make some modifications to Lento to fit the gauge that I have on my gauge swatch, because I like what I'm getting. I like the fabric of this. And so I would make some changes to make sure that I get this fabric using Lento. Going back to the previous thing about the Sophie scarf, is that there's a lot of patterns that I see on Instagram, and I'm like, that's what I want. It goes back to that same thing that I've been talking about. I want those sweaters that I'm knitting sometimes to be those that I have to think about. And I have one or two of those on the needles, right? But sometimes you just want a sweater that's comfy, cozy. You just want to throw it on and go. You want to feel good in it, like this one. I feel good in it. I put it on this morning. This is Turtle Dove 2 out of Drops Air. And then you put it on, and it's like you put it on your body and you're just like, oh, this feels good. It just feels good. So there's so many of those, and it's just a simple design, right? There's a lot of those patterns out there from different designers that are just those. They're very much alike, and which takes me back to the fact that I have a good, healthy library, both in Ravelry and in book form, that I think can be adapted to make those sweaters that I'm seeing. And I don't begrudge designers, making a living I heartily endorse them to do that. Pardon me. But I also, I want to be mindful that I don't keep buying a new pattern for the same style of sweater. Rather go back to my um, library of sweaters and using some of those and adapting the fabric to match what I want. So that's what I'm trying to do. So I have had Lento on the brain for quite some time. I've talked about it many times. I would do some lengthening on it, but I think this again would fit the bill for the neck and make some mods on that. So that is one of them that I'm looking at. I am also have been looking at this one for quite some time as well, and I just can't make up my mind on it as well. It's Cumulus Blouse by Petite Knit. Another possibility, and so I am trying to decide between these two, or I also have a couple of others in mind, but I have yarn earmarked for those that are fairly simple, classic style sweaters. So those I'm on the fence about. I just don't know what to do. It's kind of like I should, make a decision on Lento. Am I going to do Lento this year, or am I going to let it go by the wayside for now? So those are some things, that I'm kind of kicking around. And then last but not least, and I have nothing for these right now. I have a thought for these two, but it would mean I'd have to buy some more mohair. So I need to get out there and see about buying some mohair. There's some possibilities. I'll share what I'm thinking about for these two yarns at a future podcast. But these are Emma's yarn, both of them. They were gifts from two separate people. In Riptide, and so I totally want to do something with those, but I have a kind of thought that I've seen a design that I like that I would like to kind of adapt a little differently, but I'll talk about those future episode. I am not going to do those with you right now because I don't have sufficient of the mohair Riptide, which I want to investigate getting some more of. So that is all of the things that is in this teal basket. So you think that's enough? What I'm wearing, as I said, this is Turtle Dove 2. It's the lighter weight version. I knit it out of Drops Air. Purchased the Drops Air many years ago, again from Espace Tricot. It was one of the original designs from them and from the original owners. And so I love this. Like I said, when you pop this on, it is so fun to wear. I don't particularly care for this here. And I know that there is, at the time I just knit it, and then I put it on. And so there are some mods that could be made for this for certain. But for now, I'm not making those, but I love this. And this also is, if you remember from the last episode, I am doing a Twistmas out of the leftovers from this. So I like this. It has, did the twisted rib. I did it according to pattern. Yep, according to pattern. And I love it. It has that high-low hem, which, there you go, with the split. And it's just comfy, cozy. It's perfect for today. So there's some teals going on here, right? Okay, and then last but not least, I just want to share with you a cast-on. This is the Musselburgh number 6. This particular one is going to be riding shotgun, right, in my car, and that's where it will stay, and that's where I'll knit on it, when I might need a project, or if I forget knitting. Who does that? But one never knows. Or you finish a project, or something's wrong, right, with the project, and you don't want to do it. So anyway, it's in my Dolphina bag, And as I said, this was muscle number 6. This particular yarn that I cast on, I have notes that I wanted to talk to you about this because I want to talk again just a little bit here about the Musselburgh. I cast this on January 6th. The yarn that I am using is from Apple Fiber Studio in the colorway Happy Hammock. Now, this yarn came from Stitches West, and I had my friend Kendra shopping for me, and she picked this yarn, a couple of these yarns up when they all went out to Stitches West one year. And so I decided it was time to pull this out. I want to tell you something, 2 things. The yarn, the makeup of yarn here, it is a sock fingering weight. I love this. The base is called Macintosh, Apple Fiber Studio, Macintosh. And it is 20% superfine alpaca, 60% merino, 20% nylon. It is machine washable in cold water on gentle cycle, lay flat to dry, wash with light colors. It's microbrewed in Bellingham, Washington. And this has been around for quite some time in my PYS. And I decided it went into the possibles for new Musselburghs. And again, this I was pleasantly surprised with. Here is the colorway in keeping with the teal episode. And when I cast this on, and as I'm knitting this, I have to tell you, this is lush. This is lush. I love the alpaca in it. I love knitting on this. So I love it. I am pleasantly surprised at this. I'm loving everything about it. Now, what I'm going to tell you is I intensely dislike pinhole cast on. I know y'all out there who do it, love it, no problem. Rosie, our friend from Zoom, she can do it without looking up the instructions. I'm a lazy knitter, and if I can circumvent something, I will try. And so what I decided on this one, and it is fiddly because you start out with a small amount of stitches. I am a DPN knitter, and yeah, it's fiddly. And so when I cast on one of these, I have to be in the right frame of mind. Otherwise, it will go flying, not in a good way. And so I tried casting on one night, and I'm like, I'm just not in the frame of mind. Let's just wait when you're calm and there's no TV on, or it's something soothing, let's just wait. And so I did not pinhole cast on. I cast on my stitches. I finagled them around. I kept knitting and knitting and knitting. And when I got past the decreases, I took that long strand that I had cast on with, and I went back around through the 8 stitches that were sitting there, and I tightened them up, and I pulled them, and then I went back and forth. And I am not going to use, not only am I a lazy knitter, I'm a belligerent knitter sometimes. I don't want to learn new things. I'm happy with the way I do things. So that's why I said on Zoom the other night, because of that, I am never going to knit continental. I don't want to learn. I don't want to do brioche. I don't want to throw a new skill in. I don't have the patience or the tenacity for it, I don't think. So anyway, I'm good with that. I'm totally good with that start. And I just love this yarn. I love the feel. I love knitting with it. And I have I have another skein in another colorway, and then I have another teal very similar. So I see more of these in the future. Is this going to be mine? This might be mine, one of mine. And then I could make mittens out of the other one. Oh, well, anyway. So I had to share that with you because I'm totally on this train of Musselburghs. Now, before we totally leave Musselburgh again, I have mine here. that I am knitting on. This is Freckled Whimsy. And as I was going through the yarns, again, I have the green, and I have decided that when I knit halfway on this, then the other half is going to be a solid green, so that when we turn back that brim, you'll have a solid patch of green, which means I will have enough yarn for something else, for, you know, another one if I want to do that. These are both Freckled Whimsies, and these are ones that sit next to my chair here, so that when I just want to pick up something and just kind of knit it in the round for a bit, I have it. Which brings me to a thought that I discovered when I was taking pictures of my finished object. I have this snowman. I have a snowman collection that I bring out after Christmas and decorate with. And I have this one, and this gave me an idea. What about this as a Musselburgh? Just a little bit of color work on that band. Whatever. And it could be maybe, no, what about a little bit of color work there? What about a little bit of color work striping this direction? What do you think? Just some food for thought when it comes to Musselburgh, and to kind of close that chapter for this podcast. So, all right. And then last, before I talk about life stuff, I just want to bring something from my library to show you. I showed this book many years ago when I received it as a gift, but I have seen a couple of posts popping up on Instagram from both Joseph Ford and Nina Dodd Knits. But I love this book. There are no patterns on it. I don't think that there are any patterns to be found either. But this is just a fun book to check out, to look at, to be inspired by. The book is by Joseph Ford, and the photography is also by Joseph Ford as well. Yes, photography by Joseph Ford. The knitting is by Nina Dodd, and she is Nina Dodd Knits on Instagram. And the book is called Invisible Jumpers. And I love this book for just fun stuff. Just to kind of think, just to think. Look at the back. Here's a sweater. And that's the gist of this book, is sweaters that take on the backgrounds. If you can find the book, if you're so inclined, just check it out, because it is a lot of fun. I love this. It's just, there are so many cool pictures in there. And the book also towards the end tells how many hours of knitting, and how her the thought process of to find the perfect backgrounds for them as well. They put in the book some information. That's all at the back of the book about each of the sweaters. I just think it's fun, a fun look into knitting and photography for sure, which is something I not necessarily knitting photography like this, but something that I would like to kind of do in the new year is there. Let's see. Okay. So I just wanted to share this book from Invisible Jumpers from my library, a super fun book, just in general. I just wanted to share. I'd like to share with you on every so often some of the books from my library that just, you know, when you look at them and you just say, oh, I want to look at that. I want to look at that again, whether you do anything out of it. And two, maybe some of them I curate and pull them out in this great cleanup for maybe doing for the meetup, for our meetup, maybe on the put and take table. So couple of things that I just want to talk about. Um, Yes, there is a makers meetup that will be happening. Kendra and I will do a podcast in that when we have more details. We have the stuff reserved. It is July 25th and 26th at the Hilton Garden Inn at Hoffman Estates. The link, and we'll talk more about the Cowls. Again, we have a couple going on, the turquoise Caribbean teal one, and then also the clover tea. We'll talk about those again when Kendra and I can do a podcast once we have the link in hand. That should be coming for the hotel. So more information on that will be forthcoming. We'll talk about that at a later time. So and then I just wanted to end this with just, this is where if you want to leave, I totally understand. But I wanted to show you this. My oldest granddaughter made me this cute little bracelet for Christmas. I just love it. There's so many cool things out of there, and it fits my tiny wrist. So that's for my oldest granddaughter. So she's so much fun to have. But that's one of the things. But you know, what I wanted to talk about here at the end is a lot. I am so happy that we are into the new year, and I'm happy that we're getting new podcasts. There for the last couple of weeks, there's been a lot of people doing their what I knit in 2024, and I think that's a grand idea. I just didn't have, I just wasn't with it enough to pull out everything because I was doing the great cleanup. And I'm thinking maybe next year I would like to do that right after the first of the year too, just as a reprise. A lot of times, I didn't do that last year either because a lot of times I will bring my last year's knits out in the following year and wear them on the podcast. So anyway, I did not do that, but I'm kind of glad that I've seen a lot of interesting knits that I'd like to put on my list for sure. But what I am going to say is I'm glad that we're getting into January, and we're getting some, the podcasters are back from vlogging and all of that. And so we're getting back to some new inspiration, which I'm loving that, seeing their design, seeing what they're knitting on right now. I really enjoy that, seeing that now for sure. Again, I'm not saying that everything I knit is not an idea that I'm not going to use next year. I definitely am going to. I just wasn't onto it. It's like I had Teals thinking in my brain and all that. But anyway, one of the things, the goals that I'm trying to do here, and I know that if I say it here, you specifically, a couple of my good friends will hold my feet to this one, right? But for the new year, what I'm trying to do is work on those whips from my 2024 journal, because I'd like to, again, I always say in the new year, I always want to be done at the end of the year. I don't want to have any last year whips carrying on. And so I would like to clean up my 2024 whips for sure. Either fish or cut bait on them. Most of them are going to be fish. Some of them I have moved to spring, which is perfectly fine, right? So I'm going to try and really hard to do that. I'm knitting from PYS. I'm knitting from my library, and trying to just do better with knitting. Along with that, I have been on and off with Weight Watchers forever, right? Years ago, I lost 50 pounds. And then, I gained a little bit, but I've always, like, every time I turn around, I'm going back onto Weight Watchers on the app, one thing and another. So, and then, 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I probably was as close to being where I wanted to be, but that was because I wasn't eating. That you all know that story of what was going on in life. But so gradually, over the last year-ish, the pounds have been sneaking up on me, and I continually to want to be healthier. I have plans for some, some knitting trips, some adventures, and I want to be able to walk long periods of time, stand long periods of time. And so I want to build up, not only do I want to build up my stamina, but I want to be healthier. I want to be much less in my weight. And I'm on a year-long Weight Watchers thing that I paid for, so I want to start using it to its full potential. And so I am back. I'm heading out here in a little bit. I'm going to the grocery store to stock up on some healthy things for my continuing Weight Watchers adventure. Because again, the less weight I have on, the smaller sweaters I can knit. I have a couple of things that are coming up this year. In March, my family and I are going to Destin again. And then we have a wedding that will be coming up later this summer. And I'd like to be able to buy something, a new dress and look better in it as well. All of the things. I want to be healthier. I want to be able to do all the things I want to do. And so I'm saying here that that is my goal for the next 6 months, is to really work on some weight loss. And when the weather is good, I'm going to be out doing some walking. And I just want to share a couple of things, websites, YouTubes again. For those of you who might be inclined, I talked about Y2 Next. It is a young gal and her mother that does a YouTube videos, and they're all inside videos, a lot of walking. The last one was 10,000 steps. I'd like to work towards 10,000 steps a day in walking. And so I love to do even if it's just their 15 to 20 minute ones. They have HIIT exercises, can be done inside. I don't have to go out into the weather to do that. So I am focusing back on that as a way to get my exercise in until the weather and the snow and the little icy patches out there. I don't have sidewalks in my neighborhood, so it's strictly in the road. And so once that gets, the weather, takes away all the snow and ice and possible pitfalls, black ice, then I'm going to be back out there doing some walking, because I want to build up that stamina for sure. The other one I am following right now, I have been for some time, is a young lady, Northern Illinois, I want to say is where she's from. Nikki Gets Fit. She has been on Weight Watchers for quite some time, and she does videos, and she's been at her goal, I believe. She's a young gal. What I like about her videos on YouTube is that when she does them, like this morning, she did an Aldi haul and she tells things that they have purchased, and the points, and what she does with them. So I did a little deep dive into her old videos yesterday and made some notes of some foods and things that I want to do. And because I have to have a plan, right? That's just in my nature. If I don't have a plan, as with my knitting, also my eating, my exercising, and sleeping, if I don't have a plan, then I go off the rails in a New York minute. And so I really have to have a plan going forward to get healthy, right? Whatever that is. So I wanted to share that with you all at the end of the video, because it's not for everybody, and I think I'll continue to kind of do that down the road, but I will do it at the end, just as my journey. And I would love to know if there are others out there. We've had this conversation before, and you've given me some great websites to look at, and so I'm going to reprise those back and start being a better planner, a better meal maker for myself, and doing the things that I like, right? For sure. So if this is something that you're loving, or you're on this journey as well, I'd love to hear from you. And we can cheer each other's on. And if you're not, that's fine too. That's fine too. So My mug today is from my friend Debbie. Last year she gave me, and it is very appropriate for the Illinois weather. Has this little snowman, and it has my caramel macchiato in it today. That's one of those things that I put in with my points. I do the Weight Watchers app on my phone, and it has, for me, I just want to say it has worked for me. It has worked in the past. It is what I need to do, and I am best familiar with it as well, um, for sure. So anyway, thank you again so much for coming here again. I hope there was some inspiration for you. And if you would like, subscribe and tell a friend. It's always wonderful to have new subscribers and to build new friendships. And we'd love to see you on our Saturday night Zoom. That information is in the Ravelry thread. We start at 6 o'clock Central Time, and most Saturday nights I will be there. And if not, my friend Marie is always keen to host, and so I do appreciate that so much as well. So until next time, I hope you are knitting something super fun. I hope it's teal. So see you next time. Have a great couple of weeks. Bye.